You know a real great way to grab power is start promising poor people shit.
The cow didn't jump over the moon. There's no air out there. It's some stupid shit that idiots believe. Yeah.
You can take any one of our podcasts and cut it so it's like, I eat babies for dinner. You know, we don't want to be people.
No, he wasn't. And shut up because you're stupid.
Good evening and welcome to the Church of Awesome.
The church to end all churches.
I am conducting today. I am Cardinal Imam Spencer, son of Hagar.
Peace be upon him.
Presiding today is Bill. Along for the ride, we have the Demi-Pope Chris. And leading our discussion today on objectivity is the Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
Hear him!
Yes. Okay, today's topic is objectivity, context, and interpretation, to be more long-winded and shit. Okay, let's take it from the top. The definition of objectivity.
Webster's defines objectivity
as judgment based on observable phenomena and uninfluenced by emotion or personal prejudices. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Subjectivity is judgment based on individual, personal impressions and feelings and opinions rather than external facts. I do like that they say external facts. The goal of objectivity in my mind is to be able to look at facts or information without any interference from conditioning, training, emotions, biases of any kind, to look things at face value. And also to be able to apply things that you learn in a way that's not going to be errant or going to get in the way of what your actual intended purpose is. Subjectivity, it's a subjective. That means it's kind of like not quantified. It's
yeah. Well, which is interesting because objectivity is something we strive for, but it's not really possible because we're all looking through. Life is a subjective experience because we are these subjects, and we're filtering things through.
It's like, did Darth Vader actually kill Anakin Skywalker?
Exactly.
What I said was true from a certain point of view.
Right.
From a certain point of view.
So journalists try to be objective. They try and it seems like they're trying to do is trying to make
work
things
for the New York
fair.
Times.
Yeah, so not anymore, but they used to.
They say we want to be fair and balanced. And
they want to have the appearance of being fair and balanced.
Talk about loaded words, but sometimes things aren't exactly half good and half bad. Sometimes some things are more good and some things are more bad. So, but you're absolutely right. It's virtually impossible to be 100% perfectly objective, because it reminds me of your brain doesn't receive the information as it appears. The eye doesn't see things as they are; it sees things as it understands them.
Yeah,
I said that was a good way. I think Spencer said that a lot more eloquently than I just did. And whenever you hear something, it's like, well, let's take it out of context. Well, let's talk about context for a second. Context is defined by some people as discourse that surrounds a language unit and helps to determine its interpretation. Now, as soon as you start interpreting things, you're no longer being objective. You have a statement, and we're going to go over a bunch of them.
Well, with the context, you've got, you say, hey, there's this fact, but how does it fit into a larger view? Context I always think of as just zooming out. Let's zoom out and see how this fits in this larger piece. And there's always more context that can be applied to something.
Sure.
And you can either use that to try and skew a point one way, put it into a certain frame of reference that makes it look like it's saying one thing, when you can just put it into another frame of reference and have it say the opposite thing.
I'll finally get into an example of there are times when context is important. Well, first of all, you can take any one of our podcasts and cut it so it says like, I eat babies for dinner,
or you can just use the clip where I said that exact thing.
Yeah, save yourself some time. But when I worked in private security, we talked about people, basically public drunkenness, where they're stumbling around, and they said, now, keep this in mind. You got some people who are going to be drunk and they're going to be stumbling around, but there are other reasons why people could be not walking in a straight line or not able to stand up straight.
Like dodging the drunks on the sidewalk.
or like like some kind of diabetic shock or
inner ear infection. Or something.
one of any number of problems. And so
Because the bitch be crazy.
Yeah.
because and you would respond differently. You would like, instead of calling the cops, you would call the ambulance.
Doctor, yeah.
You'd be calling the nurse. So yes, there are times when contexts are important, and it's very foolish and vain to assume that you can look at something and understand exactly what's going on. So context is important in some cases, but the idea is to be able to look at something. If you're reading some kind of new information, or even like in a holy book, you're reading something like an example, "Thou shalt not kill." Well, there's a lot of things you can. There's a whole lot of stuff that needs explanation.
Yeah.
Like, I'll hop into that now.
Well, a good example is when people quote things from Leviticus, and they say, "Well, this is what God said." It's like, yeah, but who was he talking to? He was talking to the Levites. So it's, are you a Levite? No. Then shut up.
Yeah. It was like, if you just take the phrase, "Thou shalt not kill," well, we talked about the 3 different kinds of murder before, or maybe not, depends on which order this come in. There are 3 different types of murder. You have, to recap, murder 1 is taking the life of another person with intent and malice aforethought. You planned it ahead. They call it premeditated murder. Second degree murder, you have often called a crime of passion. That is the taking the life of another person with intent. So you did it on purpose, but you didn't plan it ahead of time.
Just adequate provocation. Yeah.
In Shazam. And then third degree is involuntary manslaughter, where you didn't intend to, but you did take the person's life. Oops.
My bad.
Now, those all are classified as crimes, okay? Those things are bad, okay? But you have, what about justified killings, is what they're called in legal terminology.
Like executions.
Yes, that's one. Or, because it's, you're taking the life of the person in a manner prescribed by the law. You're supposed to do it because that's what the law says.
Self-defense.
Self-defense is another good one. Or a law enforcement officer in the scope of his duties.
Yeah, he's protecting
doing his job.
Something, yeah.
Protecting other people. Usually they say the federal law enforcement policy is you are authorized to use deadly force if that is the safest way possible to eliminate a threat, a deadly threat, basically. I'm sure I can come with one better later, but
so it's basically, someone is going to cause a threat that is likely to kill somebody, and you're like, okay, if there's no other options that are safer, then you're allowed to, blow the motherfucker's head off.
Right, exactly. Or how about soldiers in war?
Yeah,
you're at war, you're gonna be doing some killing.
Yeah,
and you don't. Assuming you don't commit any war crimes or just straight out conventional war, that's, you're ordered by your country to do it, so you're not going to be imprisoned or executed for that.
Yeah, well, and all of this stuff exists in the Bible as well. So there are wars, there are executions, death penalties, stuff like that.
Yes, there are. Here's one of my favorites: the Noah's Ark story. You have just looking at the thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to read a little chunk of it. God is giving Noah the instructions for this boat that he's going to build. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make room in the ark and cover it inside and outside with pitch. This is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the floor of the ark in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. Okay, and then he's told, and so God gives him instructions for the ark, in which he's told to bring 2 of every sort of animals, male and female, everything on the dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and their food. Okay. So on the face of this is an incredibly stupid story, and for centuries. People took this literally. I mean, I took it literally myself. I believed that shit. And I'm like, okay, well, how big is a cubit? I mean, it's got to be a big boat, right? Because it's got to have all the animals. Well, a cubit's like 1.5 feet, isn't it? Now, it's so, I don't know, a couple football fields. Even that, how many species would he have to save? And like, how many species that we know of are on the Earth now? Can you give me a rough estimate?
Well, yeah, number of species, I think it was like 6 million species of just beetles or something.
Right.
So,
It's an insanely large number. It's like, well, it's every kind. So, what, every humanoid thing, like 2 of a humanoid thing, then 2 of a feline, then 2 of a canine? Like, what the fuck? Even that, it's like you said, if you were to get an annual population to 2, 1 male and 1 female, you're fucked because you don't have the genetic diversity to make that to really
But evolution doesn't happen. So it doesn't matter.
Well, and
That's why inbreeding is okay.
Yeah, and just yesterday we were at the San Diego Wild Animal Park where they do try and basically bring these species back. And there are certain species where it's like we're down to a population so small that it's very unlikely that we're going to get, that this species will be able to, come back from this. You need to have a fairly large population. A bottleneck, you can't get down to 2 because, you're pretty much just fucked at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got you're warehousing them. They're going to be. I mean, what do you feed them? Are you feeding them the 2 of the other kind of animals? Like, how many are you?
Well, it says and their food.
And their food.
Yeah.
I mean, that was going to be. I mean, Jesus.
And what about all the plant species that would die out during the flood?
Yeah.
What are they going to grow when it?
Well, there would be
subsides?
Potted plants.
There's so many obvious
potted
problems.
plant with a giant sequoia in it.
It's funny.
All in his little 40-foot boat.
Yeah.
I was reading the Wikipedia entry on this, and it made me laugh because it said, like, in the late 1700s, the Encyclopedia Britannica explains, the theory of one guy that could explain how all the animals could fit inside the thing. And then the mid-1800s, the explanation basically went down to, like, well, it's kind of a theory or it's an allegory, and then like by another 50 years, it wasn't even mentioned. It was like, yeah, it's in the Bible.
It's some stupid shit that idiots believe.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's because when you're a kid and you hear this story, you go, that makes sense because, man and woman have a kid. Like, okay, I got you, mommy and daddy and baby and whatever.
Yeah, it makes about as much sense as the other books you're reading, like the Bernstein Bears. And
Right.
It fits in.
Like I always say, stupid things tend to fall apart under scrutiny.
Yeah.
As soon as you think about it just a little bit,
it's like, wait, so the cow didn't jump over the moon. There's no air out there. Cows cannot jump that high.
Right. Let's get political. There's a phrase, all men are created equal. And I'll read the bit from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. Weren't almost all of the founding fathers slave owners? Pretty much all of them?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah, probably not all of them, but...
And when the Constitutional Convention, they agreed that a slave counted as 3/5 of a person. Okay.
Yeah. Well, see, then
So-
they didn't
Well, that was
say...
just in terms of electoral votes.
Yeah, electoral votes. But they didn't see them as people. So it's like all men are created equal. It's like, well, these are less than men. These are somewhere between men and beasts of burden.
But, I mean, even some people are born into poverty and other people are born into, like, to say they're all created equal. What about handicapped people? What about, like, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but I can run faster than a guy in a wheelchair, probably.
Yeah.
To say they're all created equal is oversimplified. It's not correct.
Yeah, but it's not technically true, but it's equality of opportunity is usually what they say. Is that there's, we'll try to eliminate barriers to people realizing their potential. Is usually what the people that are very constitutionally minded will say. I don't know. That's what I think, at least.
It was really more intended, I've always felt, as like just kind of, this is setting the position of the government as it regards to people. Like, we're not going to give any special privilege to one group over another because they came from money or something like that.
They believe that God is not a respecter of persons, right? That's in the Bible, and they were very upset about taxation without representation. So
and just being treated like second-class citizens because they were colonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is that the government doesn't have, because they came from a class society. You had you had the rich, and you had these situations where it's like, the rich can't marry the poor, kind of thing.
traditional marriage.
Yeah. So you had these classes, and classism didn't really come about in the U.S. It just isn't something that we had. I think it's just because we're all just a bunch of escapees from other countries.
Right.
So we have
Either
the idea
exiled criminals or religious crazies.
Yeah. Well, and we have the idea of the American dream, where you come in at the bottom and you work your way to the top.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that you're born at the bottom, you're going to die at the bottom. There's nothing you can do about it because there are these, societal and governmental barriers to you realizing that potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an ideal. It's not really something that happens all that often, but it's an ideal that we like to hit, that everyone has the same opportunity, that if you work really hard, you can become.
Right. If it was easy, more people would do it, and it's very difficult, so not a ton of people do it. Like a lot more guitar players than violin players, But, so you ready for an easy target?
Yay.
Yay! Islam. In Surah 2, verse 256. Let there be no compulsion in religion. Interesting statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bullshit. So the things that they do, I mean, in practice, it's always, they don't allow Bibles to be even printed in their country, or they do everything to keep them out of their territory. And when they are in charge, when they take over other places, your choices are convert, submit, or die. You either convert to Islam, you take your place as a second-class citizen and pay them taxes or tribute, or I forget what the word is, or you die. That's not fun. Then, so this is on the books for them. Yet and I can't think of really any religion that doesn't go out to try and convince other people that they have the truth and they want you. And it's either going to be out of some kind of misguided love for you, in quotes, or it's because they think they're better than you and they want you to agree with them because I'm right.
Yeah. Well, and that's the way that you just amass power as a religion. You have to have more people. There are religions that don't have that missionary aspect, that are more exclusive. Like Judaism doesn't go around trying to convert people to Judaism. They just are what they are, and you come if you want.
Yeah, they do think they're better than other people.
Yeah.
We're the chosen ones.
Yeah. Come be better than everyone else with us.
Yeah.
But it's the missionary religions tend to be more far-reaching and have more people, just because that's their focus.
They've recruited, as it were. You ready for another easy target?
Yeah.
Shit Jesus said, or shit my Jesus said. I like that. Do not think I have come to bring peace on earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword, from Matthew 10:34. But, religion of peace, of course, it's, they say, well, the Old Testament was pretty brutal, a lot of people dying and warring and stuff, but Jesus came and brought the new law and brought the peace, and he was, they call him the Prince of Peace and all this stuff. And
with my sword of peace.
Yeah.
I'll stab you in your war heart.
Man, he says stuff like, if you don't have a sword, go sell your garment and to buy one. So even if you have to stand around in your underwear or naked, you better be armed. This doesn't sound like...
sounds like the NRA.
The gentle, then there's... if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, his wife and his children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Did it really just say that? Yes, even his own life. He has to hate his life too?
Well, you have to be willing to be a suicide bomber.
What a dickweed.
Yeah.
This is so stupid. I mean, it's funny because, like, it's not like I'm taking this shit out of context. And I mean, these are easy targets because on the face of them, they are idiotic. And it's like, how much room for interpretation do you really have? Like, you have to hate everyone in your family specifically. Yeah. It's like, you can't really say, you're being unfair. It's a self-handicapped thing. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's how dare you use the quotes of our founding person against us.
Talk about easy targets. Shit, my Glenn Beck said. I got just one. I mean, you just listen to this guy, and he's just amazingly stupid. And he just, because I think he read like a Hitler book once, and he thinks he understands how everything happened, and so he has this tendency to just draw all these parallels, things that are totally unrelated. The example I have here, a quote from the Glenn Beck program, May 1st, 2007. Al Gore's not going to be rounding up Jews and exterminating them. It is the same tactic, however. The goal is different. The goal is globalization, and you must silence all dissenting voices. That's what Hitler did. That's what Al Gore, the UN, and everyone on the global warming bandwagon are doing. It just leaves you speechless, doesn't it? It's like, what the fuck to, massive exponential proportions. You go, Jesus.
Well, yeah, just most of the stuff he says, you're just like, I don't even know where to begin with that.
Yeah. It's like we could dedicate a whole program
to that one statement.
But we really don't want to dignify that with a response.
It's like, yeah, if you can't spot the problems with this, you are not going to be able to be objective on anything. The other thing I want to talk about is, I said the word conditioning. It's the ability to look at information without being influenced by your conditioning. And I was referring much to like classical conditioning and brainwashing and so that sort of stuff. I was hoping to get your input on this.
I mean, we're conditioned by everything around us, really, right? It's really...
It's the expectations, right?
Yeah, what they're trying to talk about is everything that's influenced you as a person. You're trying to account for that, right? In your attempt to be objective. Like, it's like, say you feel you were treated unfairly in this, this thing, and it's like, are you really, or are you just, thinking you are because of some past experience?
Are you playing victim? There's this thing called trained incapacity, I remember learning in social studies, where because women were treated like property and like they were less...
What do you mean were?
I'm generalizing. Anyway, that they even get convinced themselves that, I couldn't possibly get gas for myself, or I can't... Like, as if they're incapable of opening doors and shit like that.
Well, it's like all those Mormon women in the 70s standing up, holding signs to vote no on the Equal Rights Amendment. We don't want equal rights.
We don't want to be people.
You're destroying the traditional role of women as property.
As people who can't do anything.
Traditional marriage.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You gotta protect the sanctity of that.
Yeah, and I've seen it where you're like trying to explain a moderately complex concept to someone, and they're like, oh, well, that's math, I can't understand that. Or, they immediately shut off because they're either scared of new information or they have so little confidence that they just will assume, without even thinking about it or listening to you, that they will not understand it. And that's quite a handicap to live with. And
because they're told by their religions their entire lives that
they are incapable of saving
themselves. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Your man will be able to figure it out for you.
Yes.
Well, and everybody in a larger context has that same trained incapacitance thing that it's like, you can't save yourself. Jesus saves you. You are shit. You have to have him help you.
Yes. Yeah, that is trained incapacity on a huge scale. That affects everyone. I didn't even think about that. That's a good poll. Let's talk about God the Rapist. Now back to God and why he sucks.
Yay.
Shit my God said.
Shit my God said. I'm going to use that. Okay. Now, you hear the phrase God the Rapist, and you go, wow, how dare you? That's quite a potent vial of blasphemy there. Well, let's take a look at what the Bible says. in the Bible, the Annunciation, this is the Annunciation of Jesus, of course, in the book of Luke, Luke 1:26 through 38. I'm going to read only a part of that. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail, thou art highly favored, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And when she saw this, she was troubled at his saying, and cast her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said to her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, bring forth a son, and shalt call his name Jesus. She doesn't even get to name her own kid. He shall be great, and he shall be called the Son of the Highest, yada, 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 yada.
And thou shalt be a booty call.
Yeah. Now, looking on the face of that, do you see any problem with that, Chris?
Maybe is that okay with you? Might have worked in that.
Yeah. So what do you call it when you impregnate someone without their consent?
I'm racking my brain here. Not coming up with the word.
I think the word is rape.
Yeah, that might be it.
That's what the book says. I didn't make that up. I'm not pulling it out of context. I even read the whole paragraph. I didn't just say, God eats babies. It's there. It's what it says in the book.
Thou shalt squeal like a pig.
Thou shalt bend over and... It's ridiculous. Like, yeah, stupid things fall apart under scrutiny. And you read this, and it is amazing when you leave. when you leave the faith and you look back and go, holy fuck, I actually believe that.
When you look at everything in its proper context.
Yeah, when you take off the rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Is that from Alice in Wonderland, by the way? The rose-colored glasses? Yeah, that's from something. Rolling back over to Hitler. I want to read the opening couple of paragraphs of the Wikipedia entry of Adolf Hitler, because I thought it was a good example of a biography of someone who, just hearing a name, you have a very visceral reaction.
Yeah.
You go, megaton warhead fuckhead, right? Well, this is just saying the facts, and I thought it was pretty well done. So I'm gonna read it. Adolf Hitler was an Austrian-born German politician and the leader of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, also known as the Nazis. He was a Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945, and the head of state as Führer, and I can't say that word in German, from 1934 to 1945. Hitler is most well known for his central leadership role in the rise of fascism in Europe, World War II, and the Holocaust. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it goes on.
Reichskanzler.
What's that?
Reichskanzler.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
How did you look at it?
I looked at it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I still think you're amazing, but
As anybody German will probably rip my pronunciation apart too.
Your pronunciation powers are greater than even me.
You sing in enough choirs and you pick up a little,
little German, little Italian,
little Latin.
But, it didn't say Adolf Hitler is an asshole who took over and caused wars and all that stuff. This is more fair. Now, it didn't hide the fact that he was he was
the leader of the Nazi Party, and that kind of evokes an emotional response even
that
there.
Does, but he is most well known for a central leadership role in the rise of fascism in Europe, World War II, and the Holocaust. He doesn't deny that he did those things, but it says it in a way that's,
objective.
Yes.
It's not loading it with a bunch of charged words to incite irrational emotion.
Exactly. The phrase I learned in my classes was emotively charged language.
Yeah.
That in your communication, you should be able to say just the facts, man. Be able to say things as they are without introducing your own biases in it. We were talking about the words ransacked or
rampagement.
Yeah. Yeah, it all depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to influence somebody, then go ahead and try and use words with more than one meaning, and try and bring someone onto your side. If you're trying to just communicate information, then emotively charged information will get in the way.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, religions they are full of loaded words, as they call them. It's holy, consecrate, sacrifice, all these things, atone, forgiveness, all have a lot of meaning. And, I spent my entire life trying to understand exactly what those words mean. And then I would apply them in my daily life. consecrate really means to set aside. Actually, it means to make sacred, but to set it aside and treat it differently. You know, the day of rest was consecrated. The years of my mission were consecrated, set aside to do just that particular work. And then, you know, then I went back to my normal life.
And, you know, the money was set aside for donations to the church and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let us drink. That's him.
Wait, I had something for this. Enjoy our terms of inspiritmentness. All right. Today I'm communing with Highland Park 15, and we've done the Highland Park 12 before, and I've got a bottle of the 18, so I'll do that at some point too. But it's really great if you have the opportunity to get different expressions of the same spirit, to really compare and contrast them. And the 15 and the 18 are right in the sweet spot for Highland Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually did a vertical tasting of the 12, the 15, and the 18. And the 12 is, you know, it's cheap, it's really affordable, and it's really good. But the difference between the 12 and the 15 was so much greater than between the 15 and the 18.
Yeah, the 15 and the 18 are both just excellent spirits. The 12 is a great dram, and it's a great
spectacular value. Yes.
Great value. I mean, if you're looking to spend under $35 here in the whiskey-friendly state of California, there really isn't a better whiskey on the market, I don't think, than Highland Park 12. That being said, the 15 is phenomenally better.
Yeah, and it's not that much more. Like, I think it was $50 for that bottle.
Yeah.
Now, I am communing with the spirit of Auchentoshan Classic, which I bought because it was A, cheap, B, fun to say, Auchentoshan.
And C gets you drunk.
Passion.
C, I didn't have a lowland in my cabinet, and so this was the only. This is my only lowland, and lowlands are great because they're really light. They're triple distilled, so they're really light. Not a whole lot there. You get really to the essence of the whiskey when you distill it that much, and it kind of has this bready kind of taste to it. So it's light, bready. It's good for a hot day, which today is one of those. Mm-hmm. And it's Auchentoshan.
I'm communing with the spirit of a massive hangover because last night I was going to have just a couple beers and then go home from my friend's house. What actually happened was we got a bottle, a 750 milliliter thing of Kraken rum.
Yes, the Kraken.
And
did you release the Kraken?
Yes, and between the three of us, we drank the whole thing.
Yes.
So I had about a third of the Kraken. And
so that 3 tentacles?
Yeah, I was up all night, and then I woke up at like 5 in the morning, and took like the next 4 hours trying to sober up. This is after I slept.
Yeah.
Slept for 6 hours, then another 4 hours. So this thing got me just trashed.
Yeah, that's how you know you had fun, is when you wake up and you're still drunk.
Like, which wasn't fun because I had to fucking drive home.
Yes.
Like, so I had a massively large pancake breakfast to try and
diffuse the situation.
Yeah. I'm not gonna drink right now.
Yeah, not right now, but by the end of this podcast, you will have to drink something. It's required.
Otherwise I'll get excommunicated.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So while we're discussing drinks, I want to give a quick shout out to the Stone Brewery. Chris and I, after going to the Wild Animal Park in that great city settled by the Germans in 1904, we swung by the Stone Brewery. It's amazingly fantastic. If you ever, get to that part of the world, check it out. They do a great tour. They have amazing beer, great restaurant. Yeah.
Here.
Check it out. And now back to why God sucks.
Yep.
Well, we were talking about Hitler before.
Oh, yeah. Why Hitler sucks.
Yeah. Things my Hitler said.
Because he was Christian, right?
Yeah, there's the whole Hitler was an atheist thing, which is, no, he wasn't.
Nope.
Shut up because you're stupid.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we put Hitler in this category of just evil fuckers that that were just pure evil, and it's like, that he was something special, that a special level of evil. He was just the devil incarnate, hell on earth kind of evil, and you put him in this category, and the same with the Nazis and just Germany at large during that period of time, and you say it's like, yeah, that was just evil, that was pure evil. And that kind of takes away from the fact that could have happened anywhere. That
That's
could have
true.
happened to anyone.
I mean, this is like what we were saying before. When you make a character a distorted caricature, then it's not useful. Then you just basically tell more fairy tales, and you can't use that to learn from it. You know how they say if you don't know the history, you're doomed to repeat it? Well, yes, because they're saying you might as well say the devil himself came up and ran Germany for a couple of years. Well, no, that's not what happened. What he did is he came in through legitimate, legal, political means. He won elections, and then he just started slowly grabbing power and building up.
Yeah, and he started a populist movement and just rose up and then took over from there.
And to assume that we're smarter than they are is so naive, it makes me laugh out loud.
Well, there was a great study done back in the 50s, and the name of it is escaping me right now. It's one of the famous ones nowadays that they use to teach ethics stuff of why we don't do this kind of research anymore. But essentially, this guy wanted to prove that the Germans were a sick population, and that basically trying to prove that couldn't happen in America. And so he started with a bunch of college students, and basically he would give them this.
The Stanford prison experiments?
No, it's not that one. This is a different one. But what he did was he basically brought somebody in and said, okay, you're going to administer this test.
Oh, it's the electrocuting a stranger one?
Basically, yeah. and basically they were brought in. They thought they weren't being the ones studied. They thought they were being a co-conspirator in the study and just administering it. And so they'd come in, they'd ask these questions, and every time that the person got the question wrong, they were supposed to press this button, which would shock them. And every time they shocked them, then they moved the dial up to the next setting, and it started at like 10 volts, and
it went up to like 500 or something.
Well, they were like numbered, and then you had like a skull and crossbones, and then 2 in skull and crossbones, and then 3 of them in like red, And basically, what he thought was going to happen was he would test Americans, and they would all stop and not conform to this.
They'd be too compassionate. Or something.
Yeah, and then he'd go to Germany, and they would all kill them all.
Yeah.
Well, he never got around to studying the Germans because he did this to Americans, and like 98% of American people would electrocute them just because a guy in a lab coat told them to. So,
yeah, I'm assuming he didn't make it to Germany because he was horrified at Americans.
well, he basically had already proven himself wrong.
Yeah.
He had already disproved his hypothesis that no, Americans would follow out the same rules set forth by their leaders if they were given them.
Yeah, it turns out people are people on the other hemisphere as well.
Yeah.
But, the German people at that time had just come out of losing a war. It was, I'm assuming, some kind of recession-y, depression-y sort of time,
huge
right?
depression.
Things weren't great. So, a real great way to grab power is start promising poor people shit. and
give them a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And so that's...
it's the Jews' fault that you're all poor and destitute.
Yeah. Non sequitur, anyone?
Yeah. Well, it's just you pick an easy target that people don't like anyway.
Yeah.
And say, like, you just, piggyback on top of that. And you know why they didn't like the Jews already at that point? Christianity.
Yeah.
Oh, because they killed Jesus?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Even though technically the Romans, according to the story that probably never happened.
Yeah.
That almost certainly did not happen. According to the version you've heard of this story that's been going around for centuries, that's what happened.
People like to throw out a lot of non-Christian but Christian apologist types will say, oh well, there could have been a person who blah blah blah. It's like, no. There were probably people named Yeshua.
It's a very common name.
It was a common name.
It was because it's translated in the Old Testament as Joshua. It's like one of the most common fucking Jewish names.
Yeah.
Well, there was this, read those Bible code type bullshit History Channel shows. use the term history loosely, and they're always like, yo, we found the grave of Jesus. It's this person named Yeshua whose father was David. Oh, yeah, and we found like 184 of them just in Bethlehem.
That was so good, I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
I read
Tangent.
Yay!
Really, to sum it up, I'll restate the opening line.
Let me explain.
The goal,
Take too much time.
the goal
Let me
of
sum up.
objectivity is to take a step back and look at things without interference from emotions, conditioning, or assumptions. Another goal is to seek and use emotively neutral language. That way you're effective in your communication, and you'll be less swayed by red herrings in language and observed facts. You can just look at things and go, well, this makes sense. This doesn't.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you won't be bamboozled by the Bible, by really any holy book, or by any charismatic preacher or leader or anything like that. You'll be able to be smarter than the masses, and that's really
Just
what we
listen
want.
to us instead.
Yes.
Don't question what we say.
We've got it. We have it all figured out. We're infallible.
We, in fact, know everything.
Yes.
And
Jebus himself came down and bestowed upon me the power.
To never be wrong.
Exactly.
yeah. You know, are we preaching to the choir on the show? Well, yeah. But I think another purpose of this program is to let atheists know that they're not alone, because it's really difficult to leave the faith, and very, very easy to believe that I'm odd because I've been so infused with guilt my whole life. You know, I must have done something wrong. I would be feeling good if I was doing right. I'd have more of a peace of mind all the time. But you're forgetting all of the conditioning that's been laid on you your entire life. And it's easy to feel isolated and alone.
Well, and part of their brainwashing tactics are to teach the in-group, out-group mentality, to reinforce that if you leave, you will be all alone.
All alone.
You're not.
They
We're
call
here
it.
for you
Yes.
in 55-minute sound bites.
And we are here every week.
Yes.
Thursdays.
Listen, instead of going to church, listen to us.
Yes.
That's what I do.
You'll be a lot happier.
Seriously. And drink something, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Commune with the Spirit.
With
Join
us,
us. Figure out ahead of time what we're going to drink, and then drink that. If you're a member of our church, you have the spirit of prophecy anyway.
Yeah.
So. But yes, and also to sum it up, God's a rapist.
And now, our fatwas of the week. This week, I'm going to declare jihad on duckface.
What the hell's duck face?
Duckface is that look that every fucking girl between the ages of like 13 and 24 thinks looks good. And so every goddamn picture of them on Facebook is them going,
Oh.
They like suck in their cheeks and stick
yeah,
out
it's
their lips.
it's basically Blue Steel. If you saw Zoolander.
Yeah.
God,
It doesn't look good. It's not sexy, especially when it's every fucking picture that you take.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd rather see what you actually look like, and because I never thought like big pouting lips were attractive. It's just not something that I ever was into. But yeah, because it looks so forced. It never looks natural, and it always looks really stupid. To me, it's like an indicator of low intelligence when I see it.
Or an indicator that you just had like a lemon head or something.
It doesn't look like a natural reaction to anything. It just looks like I think this looks good and I'm going to do
It
it.
looks
doing an
like they're
impersonation of
really
the fish.
trying to look sexy and mysterious, and
Yeah.
You look just like a jackass.
yeah, they just look stupid. So come on, bitches. Seriously, we
Not
just
good.
want to see your tits anyway.
Bitches be crazy.
I will be declaring jihad on this stupid movement where all of a sudden every goddamn fast food milkshake has to be hand scooped, and really what ends up happening is it's small, really expensive, and doesn't taste all that much better. I don't know
Tastes
if
like
they're-
melted ice cream or something.
I don't think it actually is like more natural ingredients. I'm kind of assuming it's all fake shake anyway. Now, what Jack in the Box commercials called fake shake, I loved those things, and I used to always be able to get those from any burger place. They were great. They were cheap shit, and I enjoyed the hell out of them. And now I can't find them anywhere. I have to spend a ton more money on something that's really small and not as good. Someone needs to pay for that, and not me. I'm done paying for that shit.
Well, what they don't understand about milkshakes is to make a great hand scoop milkshake, it takes a ton of ice cream and not that much milk, which is crazy fucking expensive. Instead, just dump some soft serve in there, blend it up a little bit to soften it down. There you go.
There you go. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
That's as good as anything else they're spewing out of their drive-through window.
You know, it used to be like, for $2.99, I could get a massively tall, like 32-ounce fake shake. It was the best.
Those were the days.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really sad that I'm not even 30 and I'm already saying that shit. When I was your age. Everything just sucks as we get older.
Yeah.
Get 2 onions for a quarter. Say, give me 2 bees for a...
Give me 5 beats for a quarter, you'd say.
Oh, yeah, which was the style
And we
at
wear
the time.
onions on our belt.
Yeah. So I'm going to declare jihad on the anti-piracy movement. They put commercials everywhere that are like, would you steal a car? You wouldn't steal, I don't know whatever else.
Would you rape a virgin?
Would you kill your mother while she was looking at you? But it's, you know, it has nothing to do. It's like, would you steal a car? Yeah, if I could download and make a car, if I could print a car out of my printer, yeah, I would. But, and it's like, would you steal a candy bar? It's like, well, if I stole one and it was still there after I stole it, it's like, if you make a copy of something, you're not stealing it. But more than that, it's the anti-piracy tactics, how they'll just, it's not about protecting the copyright. It's about making money. They've turned it into a money-making scheme. So now they just threaten people with lawsuits and then collect the money from their you know, like, hey, give us
settlements.
you know, give us X amount of dollars and we'll make this go away. They settle out of court for just about these threats. And there's other judgments that have been passed that were trying to set an example where it was, you know, ridiculous cash settlements for downloading an album. It was like downloading an album and it ended up being like $600,000 per song. And you're like, that's
Those are going for
fucking
punitive
ridiculous.
damages, obviously.
Yeah.
They want to make an example out of these people.
Yeah, and it was the same thing they were doing back when people could tape record off the radio. They say like, hey, taping is ruining the record industry.
Really? They said that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've said that about they said the same thing about when they first had sound replication. And they said like, well, now no one will listen to live music anymore. It's like, well, no.
Yeah, are you serious?
Yeah, it's the same thing they've been saying all along. But there's...
These cars are just going to ruin horses. You know?
No one's going to ride horses anymore. Well, it's kind of true. But
And kind of a good thing.
Well, if you
ridden
want to
horse?
ride a horse,
it
you
fucking
can.
hurts.
yeah. Yeah, I'd rather have to deal with smog than horse shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my ass definitely likes, you know, a nice bucket seat better than a
The
leather saddle.
Yeah.
And a horse's ass.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's no end to dickery on this side of the on that side of the argument. That's just
Yeah, I remember when the whole Napster thing was going on back in the day. When I was downloading music, I was downloading really obscure stuff like old, classical instrumentals or
Stuff that you can't
barbershop.
find.
Yes, I could find if there was a barbershop collection at Best Buy or anywhere, then I would probably buy it, but I can't because it's such an obscure genre. But the main reason I don't have a problem with illegally downloading really anything is the basically the concept of unenforceability. It's just like if your city says no fireworks on the 4th of July and everyone is shooting them off, then they can't just arrest someone. They can't do any selective enforcement. They can try to get it as many, but they can't just go I see a whole street in every single house. That one and that one. Yeah, that would never fly in court, and you can't enforce something like that. You can try and you can intimidate people, and you could say you can threaten, but you can't enforce that. Now, because it is so easily obtainable and easily available. TV shows, movies, music, it's all the same. You just go and you download it and it's easy. And there's no way they can stop it. So there's no point in even trying.
Well, the big thing for me is, aside from a couple bands like Metallica came out big against illegal downloading because, it's making us poor.
Well, because for them it was because they were their own label.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, the point is, right, the people it tends to hurt the most are the labels, not the bands, when you're downloading music. And it's like, if you want to support a band, don't buy the record.
Go see
them live and buy a T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's where they get all their money. You know, and
And
let's face it. I don't feel bad for the big record companies. They've been ripping us off for fucking years. I mean, I remember when a CD was like $17, and this was back in
that was a good deal.
That was back in the 90s.
Yeah,
and
marked down from $24.99.
Yeah.
They can fuck themselves.
Really?
In the ears.
Yeah, because the cost to produce it, all inclusive, was like $2 a CD.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the amount they pay the artist on that $17 CD.
It's like 8 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so support local music, support live music. Don't support a medium like a CD.
Yes.
It's like, do you get arrested for listening to the radio?
Stuff like iTunes they are at least putting out, stuff at a reasonable cost. You know. And I'll support that,
Yeah, because the artists do get a fair amount of that, especially if you're self-produced.
They do, and they've knocked down the cost of a record substantially. But
yeah, because it's digital distribution, so you've got a physical medium, no transportation or storage costs. It's, it just makes sense in every way.
Yeah.
I actually have purchased a few CDs lately. Really, I have 6 or 7 of my just absolute favorite artists that I will like. Michael Jackson, I will buy any Michael Jackson CD. And I bought this because I wanted to actually have them as more part of my collection, part of more collectibles sort of thing. But Sarah Bareilles is another one where I have all of her stuff because she's amazing. And then the Linkin Park one that I got, the newest one, which is also an awesome album. It came with a DVD, like a making of. It was like not even $20, and it came with a DVD, and it was totally worth my while. I want to see more stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing.
But just give you better and more content.
Yeah,
that's the thing that some artists are starting to find, like
just add value. Yeah,
the band Humphreys McGee did this album where it was $30 or $40, but you got the album on vinyl, you got a used guitar string from a show, you got
nice.
Digital copy, CD copy, a bunch of photos. You turn it into this experience,
like a care package for the band.
Where the tangible medium has value in and of itself, which is not duplicatable. You can't just like, hey, yeah, man, cut me a copy of that record. You can't have the physical vinyl record without going out and buying it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bands that like Humphreys McGee and Queens of the Stone Age that it's because I downloaded the stuff and listened to it. Now I buy their CDs and I go to their shows.
Oh, totally.
If not for that, then there's a good chance that I never would have really known about them, and never would have gone to see them, never would have bought their stuff.
Yes.
So it's been a net benefit to them. And if a band's good enough, then I'll go and see them. I'll go support them. I'll buy their T-shirts. I'll buy their albums.
Well, and that's the point, right? What the illegal download always has been for me. Not that I would break the law. It gives you a chance to sample this stuff and see what this band's about, listen to their stuff, get to know it, and if it's shit, I shouldn't have to pay for a sample.
Exactly.
Yeah,
if it's good, I'm going to come see your band. I'm going to come buy your T-shirts. I'm going to do things to support you because you're putting out good music, and I want to support good music. I don't want to support bad record labels that keep putting out just lowest common denominator bullshit like Justin Bieber
or Linkin Park. Or yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but not necessarily Linkin Park, but I knew within probably a song and a half that I was going to buy that album when I listened to the first.
No, not
track.
me. I have to listen to the album like 5 times before I decide that it's good.
Yeah, usually I like things on the first go. If I don't tend to change my mind. Some things I do, but not usually.
Now there's the other side of movies. Movies are kind of a different story. See, I never go out and see movies just because it's too damn expensive, and movies tend to just suck nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do have a Netflix membership, so I can watch old movies, and that works out fine for me.
I can watch good stuff, like
and that's
Dr. Who.
easier. That's easier for me than downloading it illegally. Just to stream it from either my computer or a gaming system. Hollywood is tried to put all this anti-piracy stuff, and that's where a lot of those commercials, like the "you wouldn't steal a car,"
Yeah, you see it on
you wouldn't rape
DVDs.
your grandmother, but they, and the best
But
thing
you'll
that
steal troll too.
and the best thing they've done to combat anti-piracy is by making shitty movies that no one wants to see.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more irritating than like the 4 or 5 previews on the DVDs you can't fast forward or skip through.
Yeah.
And
What
the
fuck
FBI
is that?
warning and the menu screen. Whereas if you stream it on Netflix, it just starts. Or if
Yeah.
you download an illegal copy, it just starts.
Why the hell are they showing me previews that's going to be immediately obsolete, like within a month of owning the DVD? Or by the time you get the DVD, that movie's already out. So see the preview of something that's already fucking out. Like, oh, this is so... oh my God, it drives me up the wall. It makes me so mad. Yeah, if I download it, I get to watch the movie right away.
Or if I stream it, I get to watch it right away with no commercials, no nothing.
Yeah.
No anti-piracy message. So the only people that see the do not pirate message are the people that aren't pirating it.
Exactly.
So you're idiots, MPAA, RIAA. You're idiots.
Yes.
And I hate you, and I want you to have diarrhea for a year.
A straight year.
Yes.
No days off. Diarrhea. Nonstop.
Yes. Back and forth to the bathroom every 2.5 minutes.
Hooray.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Church of Awesome. We will now leave you with the gift of tongues.
Jeremy, how pumpkin slimy toad elf snack?
I've been Axel Peppermint bathtub warning.
Well, that's airplane popsicle stick bank.
Sure was pin and cradle knot tying contest.
Shotgun pinball wedding and donut spaghetti.
Oh man, how many esophagus and pimple the bears again?
I can tell reindeer sphincter baloney pillowcase.
Oh man, in the entire left wing pickle gum basket underwear. Really hair?
It's okay, peanut butter basketball. I only want tickle dinner oil shingle painting.
The bucket. Why a trailer evergreen watermelon tomatoes?
I Photoshop construct penguin.
Well, I hope orange glass candy serves split pea, organ, sausage.
Well, if that is cabbage vanilla pork compact handicap ventriloquist.
What?
Well, if that is cabbage vanilla pork compact handicap ventriloquist.
Oh.
Yeah, well, why don't you open 24-hour engine bank french fried monk never?
Spleen?
You're destroying the traditional role of women as property.
As people who can't do anything.
That's why inbreeding's okay.
Non sequitur, anyone?
It makes about as much sense as the other books you're reading, like the Bernstein Bears, and it fits in.
Holy fuck, I actually believe that.
The comments made by the hosts and other participants are the opinions of the individuals and not those of any corporate entity. All data and information provided in this program is for informational purposes only. The Church of Awesome makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, currentness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis. If you like what you've heard in today's sermon, come visit us at churchofawesome.com or follow us on Twitter at COA Podcast.